Steve, welcome back to the show, man.
It's a pleasure and an honor to be back. I thought you would have learned your lesson the first time, but thank you very much.
Dude, look, 3.5 years ago, you were on the show. It was January of 2019, so more than 3.5 years. And I remember when I released the episode, how many people reached out to me. They're like, "Who is this Steve guy? I need more of this Steve guy." And so, of course, when you're coming out with new content and a new book, which we'll get into, I'm like, "Yeah, let's share the message, man. Let's put it out there and reshare you with my audience." Now, my audience has grown exponentially since then. So, why don't we give a little recap of who Steve Sims is? We'll start there, and then we'll break down everything else.
He's still the annoying, aggravated, curious kid that he was 3.5 years ago. And I think that's my magic sauce. I'm the guy that looks at someone successful and says, why can't that be me? And then I try to reverse engineer it. I fail a lot. I'm very happy to do that. And I grow a lot because of that. So I'm the guy that gets to hang around in the Vatican. I'm the guy that gets to hang around with Elton John, Elon Musk, Richard Branson, all these kind of things. But since 3.5 years ago, and of course we had that little step of COVID in the middle, I've been doing a lot of coaching and speaking all over the planet, really trying to get people, number one, out of the way of themselves and to really start making an impact that's worthwhile to their head, their soul, their wealth, and their bank account.
Yeah, and I love that. And a lot of what this new book is about is getting out of your own way. Don't be afraid to be laughed at. Have that big, hairy, audacious goal, really. And it's so funny when I rewind. I've been doing this podcast for 6.5 years now. And when I started, I had a co-host, and he was my co-host for the first almost year. He's still one of my best friends to this day. He'll be in my wedding in April. And people were like, "Well, why'd you have a co-host? Like, you kind of handled everything." And I go, "Honestly, because I was afraid of failing on my own and then people laughing at that failure." And so I had this like crutch, right? Like I had this person that was like, "Look, if it fails, we failed. I didn't fail, we failed." So talk a little bit about that idea of the fear people have of going after their dreams because of judgment of others.
I love the way that you've already announced it, that it's a crutch. And we have to understand where this second book come from. And let's be honest, the second book can only be a second book when there's a first book. When my book Bluefishing came out, I thought no one would touch it. I thought no one would buy it. And it revealed stories in there of all the magical things I did that had Forbes call me the real life Wizard of Oz. And I thought no one's going to touch that because, I went further than a lot of people and got to do these things. I'm not going to, trivialize that. But the methodology, surely everyone goes for that. We all hate being poor. We all hate being fat. But how many people do anything about it? We all hate being stupid and ignorant. But how many people actually do something about changing that? The book, and for any of you out there that are thinking of writing a book, understand this. And someone said it to me, I didn't let it sink in, and then it hit me like a ton of bricks. It's like a therapy session on you. And you are literally looking inside yourself. So when that book came out, I didn't think it would take. People were like, "I never thought of this. I'm like, why not? It's so simple." And then as we grew, and especially through COVID, believe it or not, this amplified during COVID. People got scared of one thing: laughing. You see, here's the funny thing. You said that you were scared of failing. But if you had a co-host, you had a crutch.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not you. Hey, it's just not us. We can't do it. We both, you had that crutch. But here's the thing. And this is what I'll challenge you with. You weren't scared of failing. You were scared of people seeing you fail.
Yeah.
And
100%.
that was the thing. Today, we're in a gotcha society. Is he going to say something that's inappropriate? Is he going to be headlines because he referred to someone out of context? And, oh, my God, he said something about their nationality. Or, oh, my God, he went to a fancy dress and dressed up as an Indian. Oh, my God, what an ignorant prick he is. We love to jump on people now, and we're in a gotcha society. If one of our leaders, for want of a better word, one of our politicians trips on a step, that makes bigger news than what he was talking about. If he misreads something on the teleprompter, That makes more news than the message he was trying to get through. We now openly like to laugh at people. Some of our biggest shows are things like America's Funniest Videos. And that is rife, chock-a-block with people hurting themselves, running into walls, falling off of ladders, walking into a window, with that coffee and spilling hot coffee all over themselves in public. That's hilarious. And we laugh at people. But here's the funny thing. Jeff Bezos doesn't give a rat shit about what you think about it. Elon Musk does not care. And I noticed something about the people that I was able to communicate with. They didn't care who was laughing, because 9 times out of 10, they realized that the people that were laughing at them were A, never going to be their clients or customers in any case, and B, don't want you to succeed for fear that it will validate that they are inadequate to do so. And so we are in a laughable gotcha society. And I realized, this is the funny thing, how many times have you done something for years and then someone's coined it and you go, I've always done it that way, but you just never realized it.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. And I realized that I had never cared. I was this big, ugly biker that just happened to be working with Andrea Bocelli. And you want to laugh at me? I can't hear it. So something happened in me. And my wife always said that I'm ignorant, but hopefully that's in a good way. I couldn't hear these kind of things. It was just like white noise to me. So I just kept going. Had I been worried about what you thought about how I looked, how I dressed, how I sounded, I wouldn't be where I am today.
That's so powerful. And I think authenticity speaks to you and your brand. I made a joke where your picture came up before you went live on video. And I was like, I thought it was you sitting there with a drink. Now you're on the West Coast, it's 10 a.m. Depends on the day, I guess. But at the same time, I was like, you look exactly the same all the time, right? Like that ends up being your brand, but that's just authentically you. Now, if you hang out with Andrea Bocelli or hang out with Elton John, and you put on the sunglasses that Elton John's wearing, like all of a sudden you're trying to be somebody else, right? Yeah. Now, what is it about you, or what can people learn from what you've been able to do organically that they can go, I'm going to embrace my unique self?
All right. Okay. All right. I like the way you said embrace your unique self. I've had people actually say, how do I hate this word. How do I create my authenticity? Yeah. That's just the dumbest statement I've ever heard in my life. I actually run a media company called Sims Media, and our whole focus is on the big C. And in life, when someone says, oh, the big C, horribly, if you know what it means, it's because you've had a family member or a friend that has been part of the big C. The big C in life is cancer. Okay. If someone says, oh, I don't know what the big C is, God bless you, thank you, stay ignorant, I hope you never know. All right. But for a lot of people, we instantly know that's cancer. The big C in business is confusion. No one confused will ever give you their wallet. Now, here's the thing. When my picture came up on Zoom, it was a picture of me in a black t-shirt holding an old fashioned. If you saw me anywhere on the, out one night, you'd expect to see me like that. You'd expect to hear me sound like this. So you end up with this preconception of who I am. How many times do you, and I'm talking to the listeners here, confuse the shit out of people trying to do business with you? And me, I decided I'm not trying. All of the effort that I'm going to have in business is going to be on creating a solution. None of it. And it's hysterical. My wife actually jokes about it, and my son. It's hysterical that I run a branding company by never branding. That was the first thing I did. I didn't want to brand. Hey, this is me. Like it, love it, stay, piss off, your decision.
Yeah.
But I noticed as we do it, as we grow, and you're in business, we were just talking about Brian earlier. How many people, oh, I'm going to do business. I'm going to build up this website. I'm going to build up these funnels. I'm going to build up this campaign. I'm going to build up this advertising strategy. I'm going to propel a brilliant image on social. All of that before they focused on the fact that does your product or service help someone? Does it remove a problem in their head that they will exchange their credit card for? Here's a little test for everyone listening. I'll give you something completely for free, and it's a powerful test. Open up. Now, this can't be done on your phone. It has to be done on a desktop or on a big screen laptop. Okay. Open up your social pages. Any social pages you've got, LinkedIn, Twitter, Tinder, Instagram, whatever. Open them all. And then when they're all open, ask yourself, am I the same person on every platform? And the dumb thing is, on LinkedIn, you're leaning up against a pile of books that you're never going to read. You're sitting there in a polo shirt, look at me, I'm suave. Why wouldn't I be? This is LinkedIn. And then you go over to Facebook and it's Girls Gone Wild. You're sitting there in your stupid Bermuda shorts with a little Mai Tai. And it's acceptable because, hey, this is Facebook. And on Instagram, there's a picture of me with my dog. The bottom line of it is, if you look at any of my social platforms, you will be greeted with a guy in a black T-shirt, 9 times out of 10, holding an old-fashioned in his hand. Because the last thing I want to do is have you confused as to who I am. Try it.
Dude, and it's so true. And I realized specifically over the last 4 years or so, the more authentic I am, even if I'm afraid of saying something that might rub somebody the wrong way, grows my brand, grows my reach, grows my impact, and does all those things. And on a grander scale, if you look at the diversiveness that COVID created, the people that spoke out massively one way, whatever way you're thinking right now as you're listening to this, we're able to do great things. We're able to lift people up. We're able to make people feel better. We're able to bring that crowd of people to the next level while we were going through such a great divide. And I think that's such a great example, right? They weren't any different on their Instagram reels than they were on their LinkedIn profile. Right? Most of them probably don't have LinkedIn. I'm the worst with LinkedIn, in fairness, but I'm not leaning on books. And so, with that being said, with the people that you work with, what's that breakdown like? Because obviously, like you said, you never built a brand, but you help people with building their brand. Do you break them down into finding or embracing their authentic self?
The first thing we have to do is actually destroy them. We have to destroy the persona that they've created, pull off all of the blocks to actually reveal their relatable self. You see, here's the downside. 99% of people don't do things for fear of what they look like. Okay. Not sound like, what they look like, especially ladies who are much harder on themselves than guys are. But they'll be like, oh, I don't look good today. My hair's terrible. Yeah, this camera's adding a few pounds. I don't look perfect. I need to fit in that dress. Well, here's the shocker for you. We don't care. Okay. We just want to know what it is you've got that's going to help me. I want to know what you're saying. Will that impact my life? That's important. I'm married. I'm not going to date you. I want to know, do you have a message that I want? So when we're working with our clients, the first thing we do is go, hey, stop looking in the mirror. Okay. And start looking at your audience. Start looking at what is the message? What have you got? What can you create? And we've had really good clients that have had a really polished website that we've actually had to deconstruct to reveal that they're bad piano players, but they love playing the piano. How many of us love doing stuff that we're actually really shit at?
Yeah.
But that now, funny enough, that one revelation of I love the piano, but I'm crap at it. But I've only been practicing for 12 years, So, but that revelation suddenly got him a massive following. And he's a realtor. He was able to talk about the real estate in and out of this piano thing. He would go to piano concerts and do little clips. He showed him. And now people were able to see, there's three kinds of people in the planet. This will make it easy for you. There's those people that hate you. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you offer. They just hate you. Color of your T-shirt, the length of your tongue, your earlobes. They just freaking hate you. There are people on this podcast that are probably already left going, don't like this guy. Okay. Do you know that's fine? Don't try and conform to catch them. Okay. That's fine. Let them go. You'll all be fine. Then there are people in the planet, and again, we probably got some here that go, oh, I love this guy. He's great. He's there. Yeah, really love him. Great. I've grabbed your attention. We're engaged. This is going to be easy. But then there's the third species, and they're the bad ones. And guess what? You've created them. Okay? Those are what's called the fence sitters. By your lack of authenticity, by your lack of clarity, by your overzealous use of text and copy that you never would ever use in a conversation. You can't even say it, let alone spell it. By you spending so much time on building up this persona that's not you, there's now a lineup of people going, I don't know what he's trying to say. I kind of like him, but I'm not sure. They're fences. You've got to get up to that fence, kick it, and get them on one side of the other. Come and love me, and we'll do fine. Hate me, we'll do fine. But the fence sitters are the worst people in the world. How many times, we were talking about your business earlier, how many times do you hear people going, oh, I want to change the copy to attract a wider audience?
Oh, all the time.
Right.
All the time.
There are billions of people in the planet. If you had a niche product that looked after three-legged donkeys that liked sushi, I guarantee you there'd probably still be a couple of million people in the world that supported three-legged dogs that like sushi.
Yeah.
Stop trying to capture more people. Start focusing on capturing the right people.
That's huge. And I tell my clients all the time, speak to one specific person. There's millions of them. As a matter of fact, that one person hangs out with 7 of the same people. So you want to like tap into that. It's literally one person. And that idea of niching down is such a key term, especially in a world now where, I mean, you know, when I started this podcast, people will go, what's a podcast? And now I tell them I have a podcast, they roll their eyes and they go, oh, you have one too, right? Like it's evolved that much. And so I have to speak to that one person. And as we talk about being our authentic self, it's funny. One thing I speak on, and I'm writing a book about it now, are the 5 people you surround yourself with. And the first 2 are, one's a cheerleader, the second one's a bruiser. People immediately assume, because I have a self-development podcast, that I'm the cheerleader. And then they get into my space and they go, oh no, this guy's a bruiser. Like he's going to tell me exactly how it is. He's coming from a loving place. He's just not very nice about it all the time. Right. But I come from a loving place. And I think when you were mentioning the fence, I go, that was my fence for quite some time. Right. Like I tried so hard with my messaging to be like the other people in my space. I won't name any of them. And then when I was finally like, no, this is who I am, I'm just going to be this person. That's when clarity happened. That's when people signed up for my community. That's when people showed up and all those things changed. And I think that's such a massive takeaway. Right. And so I want to talk a little bit more about this new book, which is Go for Stupid. Now, people who know your story and they can go back and hear it. Look, by the way, beautiful cover. Beautiful
Thank
cover.
you.
I love it.
Thank you.
But the term Go for Stupid is huge. Now, people can go back and listen to your episode from 2019 and hear the backstory. You went from bricklayer to getting in rooms with Elon Musk and having deep conversations with them and all that stuff. And it was really about going for stupid. Talk a little bit more about the idea of Go for Stupid.
How many times do you hear people say, hey, I'd really like to have a conversation with that person, and then they do nothing about it? Or they're in a party and that person's there and they're like, oh, look, it's that person over there. I was always the person that went, what's the stupidest thing that could happen now for me to go and talk to them? That is the daftest, most ridiculous thing that could happen at this moment. And therefore, that's the one I should do. You see so many people out there, they go, hey, I want to make $1 million. Great. Go for 5 and fail at 4. You know, I'm not saying that you're going to get everything. But one thing I did notice was that every time I planned an experience for my clients, and people wanted to get married in the Vatican by the Pope, they wanted to go and see the wreck of the Titanic, they wanted to sing on stage with our favorite rock band. I did a piano party for 2 people in Venice with Tony Braxton. Anytime I ever did any of those things, I went, what's the most ridiculous thing I could do here? Never. What's the impossible goal? You know, never use that word. That is the Voldemort. You should never, ever say that word because you're going to give it fuel and power the second you do. I'd like to do that, but it's impossible. You've already given yourself a crutch. But what about if you made a goal that was so ridiculous that people laughed at it? Now, that's the goal you want. Now, as kids, we dream. We run down the street with a pillowcase around our back and we're superheroes. And what are we told when, we start getting older and we're still wearing a pillowcase. Don't do that. Grow up. Stop dreaming. Stop being curious. Now, you look at the most powerful people in the world today. They are curious. Okay? They dream. Yeah, Walt Disney, the only reason that you're seeing it is because I did 50 years ago. That was the classic one of the Epcot Center. Elon Musk, we want to go here. That's where we're going. Now let's just work out a way of how to get there. But you've got to start with your moonshot. So I suddenly realized that a lot of the goals I went for were stupid, ridiculous goals. And so I tried to break that methodology down and look into some of my friends, how they've actually been able to go, hey, I need to go for stupid goals and then actually achieve them. How does that work? And that was the whole premise behind the book. The book got written, Jay Abraham, Jim Quick, Roland Frazier, Peter Diamandis, the X-Prize, typical quintessential dreamer. That's what it was all about. Today is a world where we stop worrying about those around us and we start focusing on what we want to go for, and then surround us with people that want to complement that goal.
I love it. And I mean, you look at people like Musk and Bezos. I mean, Bezos is a great example. He's now going to space. It started with selling a book online. Like, his goal was probably always that actual moonshot of going to space. I think that was his kid dreaming the whole entire time. And he got to a place, now I can build my own damn rocket ships. Right. And so I think that's really mind blowing. And it's so funny to think, you mentioned being in the room with people and like, oh, why would I go up and say something to that person, even though I want to? Number one question I get asked by other podcasters is, how do you get people on your show? How do you get these people that you get on your show? And I go, I ask.
Yeah.
I ask. Right. And they're like, well, how do you guest on some of these shows? I go, I ask. Like, you're on this show again because you posted on Facebook, hey, I got a new book coming out. Who wants me on your show? And immediately I was like, I do. Come back on, please. Right. And so if you don't ask, if you don't attempt, nothing's going to happen from there. Right. And so I love this idea of go for the biggest, hairiest, audacious goal you can think of, and then figure out how to get there. Right. Now, obviously, do you break some of that down in the book, like some of the steps and the processes?
I do. It's funny that it's so funny, and I know you haven't read the book, but the first chapter is an entire chapter on when I set up a dinner party in Florence by closing down a museum, setting up a table of 6 feet of Michelangelo's David, and then getting Andrea Bocelli to come in and serenade my clients, while they're eating their pasta. And the whole crux of that, I don't want to give the game away on the first chapter, but it was focused on how I asked. And the fact that, first of all, I gave myself permission to ask. And by giving myself permission, it excluded the fact that I didn't care if I got a no. A no's not going to hurt you. You're not going to be rushed to intensive care if you get someone go, no, oh shit, my heart's going to stop. It doesn't happen. So you've just got to learn, what are you focused on? You get a no, and then you move on to the next thing. But the weird thing was, the more I asked out and the more I asked of myself, the more yeses I got. And I automatically get a no for every question I don't ask. So the big I ask is a big running theme through this book. And again, it breaks it down on how I've done it and how some of my miraculous friends have done the exact same thing. And quite simply, how you should be doing it. And here's the beautiful thing. This isn't something you need a 12-step course on. You just need to one day wake up and go, okay, I have these standards now. I'm asking more, and I'm asking more of me. This is how I do it. Let's go. And if you dared to ask more and not care about the people that were trying to catch you out, can you imagine what you could achieve?
Yeah, that's huge. And the ask is just so important. So important. I mean, I had big names on my show when I was doing 30 downloads an episode. Now I've been able to grow success over time and have some really cool people on the show, but it's because I asked with the right intention. So how important is intention when you're creating these dreams for yourself and creating these dreams that you've created for others?
So intention is supreme focus. One of the worst questions I ever get, and I'm sure you get it, is when people contact you and they go, hey, I love your show. If you ever need anything, reach out to me.
Yeah.
Why does you helping me now become my headache? If I'm giving you guys and girls a warning now. If you reach out to me like that, you're going to get a colorful response. I'll usually say something I like, oh, thanks a lot for offering. Car needs cleaning Saturday, be here at 10 o'clock. And they'll be like, oh, I don't clean cars. What the fuck do? You know, you're less than vague. So the focus has to be there. This is what I want. You have to be focused on that. And this is what I would like to do to help you facilitate this. Now, the key is you've got to go to every single ask with a solution for them. You've got to help them. Hey, I want this, but hey, I believe you've got a podcast. How's that doing? If I promote it on my social feed, would that help you? You know, would it help if I introduce you to some of my friends? Would that help your show? I'm focusing on you. You know I want something because I said something in the beginning. Oh, I want this, but I want to switch it to you. If you can make every relationship a win-win, and again, you brought it up beautifully. Every cool cat that you want to work with has 7 other cool cat friends. Now, I ran a concierge firm working for the richest people in the planet, never did a single Facebook ad, never did a single advert, never did a single promotion, never needed to. So you get into one, impress, expand. Get into those, impress, expand, and the pyramid starts.
I love it, man. So what is your next go for stupid? Is it this book? I mean, the book's written. By the way, the going for stupid, because I'm writing a book right now, that's the stupid part of writing a book. It's insanely difficult. So what's your next go to stupid? Go for stupid, sorry.
Yeah, my next go for stupid dream is to actually change the world people react in. I love bruisers. Okay. I call them challengers as well. I sat down a while ago. I'll never forget this. I sat down, God, this was maybe 3 years ago with Jay Abraham. And I was at his house. We were just chatting away. And I said, hey, I've got this project I want to do, Jay. And he was like, let's go through it. What do you want? And I went through this project that I was going to do. And he looked at it and he was all kind of quizzical and smirking. And I was like, well, and he was like, is that it?
Oof.
And I was like, whoa, to anyone else, they would have gone, oh, you're crazy. But he went, you being you, that's as big as you went on that. Is this worthy of your energy and time? And I suddenly realized I hadn't gone big enough. So it's one of those things where if I can get other people to stop worrying, and I don't want to get political, but at the moment, we've got a lot of triggers out there, Asian hate, Black Lives Matter, Donald Trump, Ukraine, loads of triggers out. COVID, didn't really exist. It was there to put nanobots to track me. Well, you're not that fucking interesting that I want to track you. But anyway, there's all of these things that went on and people were scared to make a comment for fear of the haters. Now, every single thing I've just mentioned needs to have a conversation. We need to understand it. We need to get over our ignorance. We can't get over ignorance until we're educated by a conversation. But every time we have a conversation and we say something stupid, there's a social post made about it. And so we're terrified. So we know we have to have a conversation, but what do we do today? We avoid them. Oh, I've got nothing to say on Trump. I don't want to mention that. Oh, about monkeypox. I don't want to talk about that. Oh, I don't want to. No. Don't bring me into this conversation. Today's the time where we need to stand up. My stupid goal is I want people to become educated by having those conversations. Dare to look silly. Dare to ask a question. We were working with a client a while back, and we were working with our development team within his tech, and we were going over the branding side. So we were going over the front end visualization, tonality, what it would be, the experience, the journey, the emotive triggers. They were doing the back end. And we were having this Zoom call, about 20 people on this Zoom call. And as they were talking, they kept referring to this like DPP. And they're doing this, and the DPP will be this, and the DPP will be this. And they kept on bringing up this DPP. And I thought to myself, I have no idea what DPP stands for. So I went, guys, hang on a minute. I know I'm on the other side of the soil on this, but DPP, what's that? Don't worry about it, Steve. It's an internal thing for the technology that we use on that. And I went, well, okay, but hey, we're on the same Zoom call. Educate me. What is the DPP? He didn't know. He didn't know what it was. Oh no, it quickly got worse because one of the other people went, actually, it's TPP. It's not DPP.
Oh
so,
my gosh.
Get this. For 30 minutes, they had all been nodding when the DPP was mentioned. When I challenged someone to explain it to me, he couldn't really explain it to me, but wanted to fluff me off with, well, Steve, that's, so-and-so. And then it turns out that he was getting it wrong, and it was actually the TPP.
Wow.
And in that situation, he had egg on his face. And I was like, dude, don't feel bad, but now you know. If you can't, a good friend of mine, Perry Belcher, said, if you can't explain it to an 8-year-old, you can't understand it. Yeah. So that's the key. So my audacious, stupid goal is I want people to the emperor's new clothes. I want people to call people out. I want people, and that's not the gotcha society, but I want you to go, hey, you're saying this, explain it to me. Help me become smarter by your wisdom. And actually start to do that. That's the world I want to create before I leave it.
Yeah, and do it from authentic and genuine place to be like, no, I really need to know. So please explain. Like you said, we're in this gotcha society where people might start that way, and then somebody goes on the defense and goes, oh, it's just internal jargon, right? Because we live in a world where they get attacked versus like, it's okay, but now we know, right? And I think that's such a key takeaway. I mean, this whole conversation has been absolutely amazing, but I want to ask you a question that I ask every single guest. And I don't know if I asked you 3.5 years ago. So it'll be interesting if I did. So it's a 2-part question. The first part is, what is your definition of success? The second part of that question is, what are 3 things you do every single day to ensure that success for yourself?
The definition of success is smile, failure, growth, smile. That's what I like to do. I like to smile all the time. I like to fail. I become educated from that growth, and then I smile again. So that's my definition of success. More smiles than cries. And what I do every day is really simple, and I didn't realize how impactful it was. I never put the news on in the morning, and I stand out in the garden with my cup of coffee and just give thanks to where I am. I have the ability to stand here and look around at my trees, my garden, as my wife wakes up, the dogs come running out, my kids are all looked after. So smell the roses. We move at a terrific pace today. Park, smell, look, take it in. Don't take photographs, take it in, absorb it, and then be grateful, and then go about your day.
I love it, man. I love it. So I wrap up every single interview with the same question, but before we get there, let's get to the important stuff. Where do people go to get the book? How do we make this a New York Times bestseller? What's all the good information?
Well, weirdly, I don't care if it's a New York Times bestseller. I care that it impacts one person and they can change the planet. So it's called Go for Stupid. You can find it on Amazon under Go for Stupid, Steve D. Sims. You can also find it on stevedsims.com. And there's a real cool little QR code actually in the book that will take you to a private video. So stevedsims.com, you'll see it on the front page.
Love it, man. So guys, make sure you go grab that book. You can hear from this interview how impactful it's going to be for your life and so many others. So definitely go grab it. But Steve, like I said, I wrap up every single interview with the same question. That question is, in your life, what has been your biggest moment of growth?
Every failure I've ever had. Every time I've got anything wrong, I've lent into it and go, okay, where did it go wrong? And then gone, yeah, your bruises are kind of like get better. The cuts are heal up. The relationships, if you focus on them, will mend. But it's your greatest growth, your greatest smiles come from your greatest failures.
Awesome. Steve, thank you so much for coming back on the show, man. Thank you for writing this important book. I think everybody needs to hear this message, Jude. So this has been great. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.